Hi there, guys. It's Aileen. Today I thought it'd be fun to record for you my ventures into dark deck territory. Now, you will ask, if you look at my cards here, how has any of this to do with a dark deck? Well, obviously, or apparently, these cards don't have anything to do with that. They're very traditional, classical European decks. There's the Cabalistico Tarot, which looks like this in the box, like so. It's a Spanish deck, and it's basically a Marseille card with a Kabbalah tree of life next to it, where a particular notch or other configuration is highlighted on the tree of life to accord with the tarot meaning that we have here. There is also an astrological meaning associated with, in this case, the Two of Swords. So that's one deck. There's a Visconti Sforza, classical Italian Renaissance deck, and a Grimaud Marseille mini deck that I use quite a bit. In all of these cases, I felt like, what exactly is a dark deck? Isn't a dark deck basically any deck that sort of makes you aware of things that you weren't aware of to begin with, especially in yourself? So, darker aspects, self-defense, vulnerability, fear, anger, those types of aspects that I think are really, for me, those characteristics I tend to suppress or ignore. Those are the things I look for in a tarot deck always whenever something's really serious has happened, or whenever I'm in a sort of a upside down hanged man type of a state, and I'm looking for guidance. So I was really interested. Jennifer Pearson has done a long series that I haven't all seen yet, but I'm certainly planning to watch all the episodes of her different decks that she's subjected, so to speak, to a dark deck interview, where the questions are always the same. And the questions are, how are you a dark deck? And what type of dis-ease can you help me with? And what is your recommendation for the disease? And then to dark aspects and the influence of the aspects of yourself on relationships or on your career. So I pulled cards from either of these three decks here to get at these questions. I won't go into that much detail. I was kind of surprised to see, or not surprised maybe, because this is what happens to me in spreads anyway. I don't know, I suppose it's the same for lots of people, that a spread has a kind of a logic to it. Of course, the spread itself has a sense of logic in it, but also the cards that come out, there's quite often there's symmetries or other things going on. So I suppose I would like to focus basically on this how are you a dark deck question, the first one, and just go into those, because the other ones are a bit more personal and it would take too long, I think, for me to go into all that detail like Jennifer does. But the funny thing, what I was looking at basically here is, what kind of elements do I get? What kind of, pentacles versus swords versus cups, etc. I get. And in connection to the question, whether the deck actually provides anything. I will go, sorry for being a bit muddy here, I will go into some more detail because I think especially this card is kind of interesting. The advice position in the middle is really interesting also, because the advice is wildly different over the three decks. So, yeah. So, how are you a dark deck? I would say that all three of these do not necessarily view themselves as dark decks, with a possible slight exception for the Grimaud, which gives you a Knight of Cups for the how are you a dark deck position, where in my belief, or in my experience at least, this card has a lot to do with following your gut, which is a good thing, right? And wherever that may take us type thing. You know, that's kind of in this one. That element of kind of into the dark or wherever it may take us isn't present in the Ten of Cups that I get in the Visconti at all, or in the Six of Pentacles that I get in the Kabbalah Tarot. Neither of these two are really dark at all. They basically, it's more or less how they see themselves, how the deck sees itself, where the 6 here is shown as a really positive middle of the heart chakra kind of a position in the Tree of Life there, Tiferet, and then the earth element in the heart area, like so, which makes for a moon in Taurus kind of a position. It's very academic, I suppose. But this deck then would have more of an approach of always showing you the good things. So how are you a dark deck? You know, really difficult to get a hold of. Even more difficult with the Ten of Cups here. It's like the dark isn't something they see in these times. With the Grimaud, this one, I have been working with this deck for almost a year now, I think. That's a part of the winter. I have quite a bit of a relationship with this little deck also, because I use it 3 or 4 times a week at least, for all sorts of level things, you know, like the very mundane, regular, normal, everyday pull a card kind of a game, as well as for deeper questions or for spreads that are about something that I care about a lot. So these two are more like academic, and the Visconti Sforza, I am very fond of this deck because it's the first real tarot deck that I bought after a long period of not having any, all my life really, you know, not having any affinity with this type of work. So I'm nuts about the Visconti Sforza. I love it. But it's, you know, what with all this, it shows very different approaches to things. So very interesting. Question number 2, what disease can you help me with? The Kabbalistico says the Two of Swords. So here I have to go into the other positions as well, which I wasn't going to do, but never mind me. Okay. The disease would be, in this case, the Two of Swords, seeing things as so very different, where the recommendation for the disease is the Empress, seeing everything as linked and connected and as belonging in the same living world. Isn't that pretty? Yes, I think that is really pretty. Those two, that makes a lot of sense. It's a great interpretation, and these are really nice cards to get, you know. It may not be very dark, so to speak, but it's it helps me. It makes sense to me. And then the last 2 positions. Oops. I'm sorry. I will have to make a part 2. My phone's dead. Thank you for watching. See you in part 2.